We are going to start working the message of you formula in the middle by finding your credibility. Where you say, from my professional experiences, because this is what's going to give you the credibility you need to get the job. Now I know some of you might be thinking, but Judy, I'm not an expert. I'm just a web designer. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Well, let me tell you something. The best speakers didn't go to a fancy college. The best speakers didn't have the most important jobs. We're going to be building on your expertise. Matter of fact, I have some videos you might want to listen to where one of the most successful speakers is Patricia Fripp. How did she start her speaking career? She was a hairstylist. Watch her video. Let her tell it to you. And I know what some of you also might be thinking. My work is boring. I don't want to base my speech on my boring job. Well, you know, just because we're basing this part of the Message You formula on your professional experience, it doesn't mean your speech is going to be about your work. But first, we have to establish your credibility so you can get the job.
So what's super important is that whatever topic that you're going to speak on is that you have the credentials, the credibility, the expertise in that field to really talk about that topic. Because if you don't, the clients and the audience, I think they can see right through that, and that's their expectation. The expectation is when they see a speaker is that they're listening and viewing someone that truly understands and has a great background.
Now, some of you might be thinking, but Judy, I'm here to tell my story. I don't want to talk about my job as an accountant. I know some of you are what we call survivors. You have a huge, compelling story that you want to base your speech on. I understand. I've worked with speaker Aaron Ralston. And here's the thing. In order to base your credibility on something that has happened to you, you must have done something with it. Aaron Ralston, for example, who had to cut off his arm because it was trapped in a rock when he went hiking, his credibility wasn't a story, but the fact that he was on 2020, the fact that they made a movie about him, that became his credibility. Meaning that if you base your expertise on your personal story, you have to have done something with it. For instance, let's just say you survived cancer. Maybe you created a survivor group. Maybe you raised money and engaged the public in various Kickstarter programs that help kids with cancer. It's not just about your story, but what you've done with it for others. And yes, your job might be boring to you because, let's face it, you do it every day. But I promise you, I will not let your speech be boring. I just want to make sure that you don't work so hard for nothing, because unless you establish your credibility, you will end up with a speech that nobody buys. The idea of this is to make money with your speech.
When people ask me what my credentials are, I tell them I have a black belt in humor. And it's caused by a survival mechanism that I experienced when I worked for Human Services years ago. I was an eligibility caseworker that determined literally who got food and who didn't for the federal food stamp program. Extremely difficult, stressful work. And I had to find a way to be able to move apart from that so that I could survive all the negative things around me. And I later became an investigator where I got to go out and investigate the very same people and found all of this crime and abuse. And again, it was extremely stressful. And I would use humor I would find ways to distract myself with funny things that were going on. I once got a giant inflatable snake that I found and half deflated it and put it in the microwave oven so that when the other ladies would hit the button, it'd pop out of him. It was Sid the Snake. And it was very funny for me, at least. But I was always looking for ways to use humor. As a Fed with USDA Food and Nutrition Service, same thing. And what I found is that we do it first for ourselves to refresh and renew. So a survival mechanism for me that became something that I learned to teach others how that they could use humor as a business skill. And the key to it is we never diminish anybody. We use it to enhance and never diminish. And if you do that, I think laughter becomes you.
So let me help you find your credentials that are going to help you get jobs and really impress people when you give the message of you formula. List your educational and academic degrees. What degrees do you have? Ready? Go. What college did you go to? Do you have any credentials after your name, such as PhD? Did you take any non-traditional classes, such as Judy Carter's comedy class? Have you had any fellowship programs, residency abroad? Think about anything that you have studied, even circus school, or receiving a black belt in karate. Job experience. Ready? Go. Whether you've been a working stand-up comic, COO of a startup internet company, or a lawyer, your employment past and present means that someone else recognized and paid for your expertise. Make a list of all your jobs that you've held. Everything from that first job at McDonald's as a burger flipper to your current job. Awards and accomplishments. List all of yours. Don't leave anything out. Ready? Go. List here all the reviews you've had, all your appearances on television, in magazines, any articles you've written. Ready? Go. Any newspapers that have reviewed you. Have you written any books? Do you have a radio show? Do you have a blog? any way that you have media exposure listed here, including how many followers you have on Twitter. Now, I want you to look over your credentials and pick 3 that you think are the most impressive, that have the most credibility. Later in Module 2, we will be using these to write your introduction. Ready, go! Right now, we are filling out the next step in the Message of You formula, which is simply this statement: because of my professional credentials as, and then in the next chapter, you're going to fill that in by saying, I qualify to speak on the topic of, and insert your topic. Join me in the next lesson. And by the way, if you're finding your professional credentials a little bit lackluster, then read that chapter in the Message of You book to help bump them up. It's sort of like an expertise makeover. We will come back to your introduction later, but now we need to hone in on your topic. So join me in the next video where we will nail down your bookable topic.